Hi, Max Salazar again, and welcome back to my channel, Draconum Dawn, where I read my book to you for free. If you happen to like this format, please click the like and subscribe buttons, and let's get that algorithm going. I would like to note that I'm going to be reading 4 chapters today. One of them is the average length, one of them is short, and 2 of them are very short. So, a little bit of a short video, which, the last one was about 23 minutes, but I hope you like it. This is a continuation from part 1. Chapter 2, Commander, Spaceport Operations, Dark Side of Seln. Progress report number 1 to the clan. Initial construction is underway. All shipments of interplanetary ore and other material arrived without incident, including methane from the closest blue gas giant in our systems. Water removal and purification processes are stable. Food stores and energy-to-matter converters are operating well within specifications. Despite the newfound isolation and recent geopolitical events, morale is high amongst the engineers and program scientists. Senior staff further assures me that our schedule will not deviate, barring any unforeseen setbacks. We fully anticipate a tithe completion by the end of the solar quarter. Lastly, sensors show nil indication of active probing originating from Tur. This message sent via Prime Secure on Tachyon Wave Beta 2. Long live the clan. Chapter 3. Dr. Ingrid Morlett, Perth, Australia. Personal log. Research continues on our tachyon particle detection algorithm. Initial results are very promising as t-test analysis reveals a strong correlation between time delay and what we believe are the generation of tachyon particles. By this time next week, I expect that we will have what we need to publish our initial results and move our sensor to the open field for testing. For fun, we chose the moon as our first target. Although we expect to find nothing there, it remains the most romantic choice amongst my team. If after a few days we find nothing, we will aim our sensor at the Orion Nebula. Another romantic choice. Chapter 4. Pulchry. Quarters inside the Seln Operations Hub were sparse and lacked the familiar quartz or granite furnishings back on Tur. The senior crew was further aggravated by the replacement of natural wood nesting fibers by a fully synthetic polymer weave. Although it was not well liked, it was necessary due to weight considerations for liftoff from Tur. A shallow plastic nest with a built-in warming device was currently occupied by a member of the senior scientist staff. She sat comfortably, working fastidiously on a small piece of electronics, her broad avian shoulders blocking her work should anyone decide to enter without announcing themselves first. There was a time when the aging Pulchry would have turned down the request from her elder, but after losing her longtime mate, she no longer cared much for tranquility. Although considered to be a very mature bird, her sloping shoulders still caught the attention of many young courters. Her plumage, too, was sensuous with its silky texture and mosaic of tiling red hues. Just 1 week before departing for Seln Base, she accepted one courting offer and spent the night in her quarters with a much younger and subordinate scientist from her laboratory. For nearly half a Seln cycle, she spent her time wrapped in the gentle and still firming musculature of his wings. She didn't care about the stares she got. It was her last opportunity. Soon, everything would change. Her talons flitted about noiselessly, working on the virtual circuitry of a small piece of crystal. She had access to the communication tower and planned to cause a quick outage by accidentally spilling water over the control panel. One of the maintenance engineers would come by to repair it as quickly as possible, paying little attention to the replacement part, which she would have switched out with her own just prior. Once in, it would take only 2 short Seln cycles prior to the newly faulty circuit to redirect all power to just one comms node. Then she would lay still waiting for her orders. Chapter 5. Jack. 2 senior statesmen sat opposite each other, sipping glacier water through crystalline pipettes, their rounded beaks aimed down but their eyes unflinchingly locked onto each other. As they refreshed themselves in silence, Moda, Elder Libor's new aide, entered the large granite room with steps silent enough not to disturb the two elders, but loud enough not to raise suspicion. She carefully lifted two small crystal plates from the silver metallic dispenser tray in front of her, each piled high with steaming synth protein steaks seared to perfection, and placed them before the two aging friends. Noting that neither elder addressed her, she turned and strode back the way she entered, this time careful not to make a sound. Jack subtly trained his hearing towards his rear in repose, and was not satisfied until he heard the automatic door open and then close. The fresh cooked meats lasted only a few seconds as razor teeth shredded the food into ribbons. Feeling satiated, the longtime friends relaxed on their wood fiber perches and remained silent as they allowed their stomachs to begin the digestion process. Jack then looked at Libor and once recalled why he was visiting. "Libor, my old mate, I believe that we have lost track of time and have covered none of the business we set out to discuss." The elder statesman feigned indifference in the hopes of eliciting a negative response. He drew in his soft hands towards his stomach and then wrapped his wings around his torso, as if preparing for a nap. Jack moved his head slightly, eyeing the room and waiting for his host to respond. When Libor closed his eyes to show his disdain of the conversation, Jack reached a hand into a small pocket hidden in the folds of his robe and cracked a small vial, hidden within the shell of a walnut, between two of his fingers. He raised his voice slightly. "Tell me, what is the status of leaching water from Seln's soil?" "Jack, you do realize that my report has not been finalized, and conveying any news to you prior to briefing the Chancellor Supreme is a severe breach in protocol." Libor's voice strained as he addressed his impertinent guest. Jack sneered, his eyes looking towards the tip of his battle-hardened beak, a habit he picked up as a young officer. "Of course, but then what is the purpose of these lunches if not to move around formalities? But do not strain yourself, old friend, as I can wait until tomorrow evening's clan meeting with Her Excellency to discuss lunar moisture, if that is your wish." Jack strained his voice purposefully when he uttered the word excellency. "Well, I suppose you're right, Jack. Why meet if not to bend the rules? In fact, my aide is headed to brief Her Excellency as we speak, so no harm, really." Libor paused as he lazily adjusted himself on his perch before tremulously squawking again. "All is well, and extrication of H2O is processing with better than 950 per mil efficiency. We fully expect that all of our water reserve tanks be aboard the ship will be to capacity, along with several cases of pre-bottled reusable drink tubes by launch." The general caught a slight warble in Libor's voice and instinctually retreated to allow his friend to further relax. He did not understand why Libor seemed agitated, though. They had been friends since hatchlings. He pressed on as he calmly took in the scant decor of the resplendent room, well lit by the emanating amber lights that came from the rock itself, but not so much as to catch every detail. If Libor secreted spy probes about the room, it would be impossible to detect them. But he deceptively tried to scan the room nonetheless, his eyes shifting from side to side. "And what of our onboard reclamation capabilities? Surely they will be ready as well." "Naturally," he yawned. "Each room will be equipped with vapor filters, and our latrines, using the old military term, are already working at 1,000 per 50 mil efficiency." Jack looked up towards the ceiling of Libor's private quarters, no longer feigning indifference, as his black, beady eyes scoured the ceiling of the large granite room, continuing his search for hidden probes. He allowed his eyes to flutter to show his host how well he was fed and to play for any recording device, but kept his audio passages open. A gentle but long breath escaped his host's lungs, signaling him to push further. "Well, if we can't convince Loon to join our cause, your efforts may be futile." "Nonsense. Loon was always in the bag." Libor spoke through another lengthy yawn as his eyes nearly shut. "Val already made sure of that. I mean, Moda, my aide." "Of course, Moda is a terrific young assistant. I am sure she is capable of many things, Jack encouraged. Barely able to speak, but somehow willing to continue, the statesman continued briefly. Yes, yes. She is well groomed and being primed to merge with Vol. Vol's name was barely intelligible as the statesman fell into a deep slumber. Rising, Jack wriggled his nostrils to ease the pressure from the 2 invisible filtration plugs he inserted while still in his own quarters, and walked away without further regard for his old friend. On cue, his own aide, Major Kiln, opened the door to the room from an exterior panel and produced a crystalline sheet for the general to review as they walked silently down the hallways of the maze-like cavern without much thought. After walking for more than 2 minutes, Jack spoke up, his eyes centered ahead while Major Kiln remained silently astute, with his own eyes scanning the rear. We have what we need. Move ahead with your orders. Yes, sir. All preparations have been made, and I will ensure their execution once we are back. The old general noted that Kiln's words were perfectly clipped and his tone exemplary, denoting the utmost loyalty. He would make an excellent pairing for my granddaughter. If I can save her, that is, he thought. If I can save her. Well, okay, that concludes chapters 3, 4, and 5. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you recall, when I finally finish reading this book online for you, I'm going to be giving away this exact copy to some lucky winner. All right, pleasant days, and hope to see you next week.